Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, January 29th, 2019. I'm Investor Bones with the details. The budget estimates of revenue and expenditure for the fiscal year 2019, which amount to $1,067,343,283, were presented in Parliament today by Minister of Finance Camila Gonzalez. Minister Gonzalez said this year's budget is 7.4% more than the amount budgeted in 2018.
2019 is made up as follows. Recurrent expenditure, inclusive of amortization and sinking fund contributions, $844,763,703, and capital expenditure of $222,579,580. The 2019 budget is financed by current revenue of $656,590,775 and capital receipts totaling $410,743,508.
Minister Gonzalez told Parliament that as part of the government's quest to improve the quantity of the human resource in the public service and lift the level of services being delivered, a number of new positions have been created in strategic areas of the service.
103 additional posts have been allocated under the Ministry of National Security. The workforce of the police service has been increased by 81 police recruits. These additional boots on the ground will give much needed support to the citizen security and public safety. 10 new posts were added to the Fire Services Department. This is in addition to 2 new fire tenders, which will serve to strengthen the department's ability to respond to emergencies. The Coast Guard Service has 8 new posts added in conjunction with the new patrol vessel, which was discussed in the morning session of this Parliament, which will serve to improve the effectiveness of this service. With the full commissioning of the Argyle International Airport, much attention is given to lifting and maintaining the high standard of services at that facility, and additional posts have been allocated to aviation services. That's 4 posts. 4. In the Ministry of Health and the Environment, we have an allocation of 78 new posts to strengthen hospital, community health, mental health, and laboratory services. These staff numbers are required to support the operations of the modern medical complex and the 2 new polyclinics at Maraqua and Bocament in the delivery of a wider range of health services. 7 posts have been created within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to firstly provide for the establishment of an embassy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in Taiwan, and secondly, to enhance the capacity of the United Nations mission, the St. Vincent and the Grenadines mission to the United Nations in New York, to advance our country's bid for a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. And we'll have a lot more to discuss on that during the appropriations bill debate.
The Finance Minister further noted that the current revenue for 2019 is 5.6% or $34.9 million higher than the budgeted current revenue for 2018. This improvement of revenue performance, he said, is attributed mainly to an anticipation of economic growth this year, along with administrative improvements at the main revenue agencies.
Sources is expected to contribute $568.4 million to the consolidated fund in 2019, while non-tax revenue is estimated to gross $88.2 million. Tax revenue is expected to grow by 6.8%, driven mainly by strong growth in taxes on international trade and taxes on goods and services, which are projected to increase by 12.5% and 9.3% respectively. Taxes on income and profits, which is projected to grow by 1.8% to $158.6 million, is the 3rd largest source of government revenue. Together, these 3 sources of tax revenue are expected to contribute $515.3 million to the consolidated fund, or 78.5% of the estimated total current revenue for the year 2019. The $88.2 million budgeted for the collection of non-tax revenue in 2019 is expected to come mainly from the sales of goods and services, which is projected to generate $71 million in revenue. Revenue from non-tax sources will also benefit from inflows of property income and other revenue.
This afternoon, a small crowd gathered in front of the House of Assembly for a picket action organized by the SVG Teachers Union and the Public Service Union. The picket was initially for executive members of these unions. However, other concerned citizens joined the picket line holding placards highlighting their concerns.
I catching my tail, catching me royal tail. Nothing ain't doing. The country now on right.
I feel just one in the court. And the Prime Minister had a famous statement that he made when he got into office. He said he came to correct the historical wrong. Well, my victimization of no promotion for 28 years, isn't that a historical wrong? So I am asking him to live up to his word.
Get across a message to the government that we not satisfied, we're not making no sport with them, and we would like to see changes for the future to come.
We say we don't want no dictator. We need consult and negotiate. You can't just impose things on people without consulting people.
This 1% increase is negotiation, take it or leave it. They call it negotiation, but we not even got the chance to put our proposal on the table, and it's not as though they didn't know what we're standing for. We would have sent letters asking 5.5% and then 4.5%, and out of 10 he gave us 1.
We also need better working conditions in, for example, schools. We also want fair promotion. Whenever there's promotion, it must be fair.
Union leaders Wendy Bino and Elroy Boucher of the SVGTU and PSU respectively said they are pleased with the turnout of persons and stressed the need to have negotiations with the government on behalf of workers, stressing that the recent increases announced are unacceptable.
It is an executive picket, and we've invited other persons to join us, so they're falling in one by one. We anticipate a good evening. We're hoping that things change. If not, we have got other methods, other strategies that we can use to ensure that things change.
We are tired of 18 years of victimization as public servants, and the 1%, ridiculous. It is 1% really over 2 years, 2017 and 2018. Truly an insult.
Opposition leader Dr. Godwin Friday took time out from the sitting of Parliament to lend support to the unions, noting that it is for a just cause.
2005, they were told they couldn't get leave, so they had to resign their position to contest the elections. Having done so and not being returned, winning the seat, they go back for their position and they're told, well, we can't rehire you because the Constitution says the agreement, the provision on which you are relying is not constitutional. And you know, that is bad faith on the part of the government, because they negotiated it. They told the teachers that it's a good thing for them that they can contest, because these are some of the most capable people in the country.
The union representatives said they will be picketing again on February 4th, budget day. 3 teachers who were not rehired by the government after they unsuccessfully contested the 2010 general elections on the New Democratic Party ticket received some good news today after the Court of Appeal sitting in St. Kitts ruled in their favor against the government. The court ruled that the election leave provision of the 2005 collective bargaining agreement with the SVG Teachers Union and the Dr. Ralph Gonsalves government is binding, and the 3 teachers who had to quit their job before running for office in the 2010 general elections must be paid their pensions. The case was put forward by the SVG Teachers Union on behalf of Addison Bash Thomas, Kenroy Johnson, and Elvis Daniel. When the matter was first brought before the High Court, the sitting judge Brian Cottle dismissed the case as entirely hopeless and that the matter is one for constitutional reform and not for the court. The Court of Appeal in St. Kitts today ruled that the claimants had a legitimate expectation of success, saying that the government, in signing the collective bargaining agreement, committed itself to grant no-pay leave to qualifying teachers to contest elections and to reinstate them if they are unsuccessful. The appeal court, however, ruled that it could not order that the teachers be reinstated because doing so, it would be vesting the court with an executive function. The matter was sent back to the High Court for reassessment and for costs to be assessed if not agreed by the parties. One of the affected persons in the case is Addison Bash Thomas, who said the ruling by the Court of Appeal today is not only a victory for him and his other two colleagues, but for all teachers across SVG.
To the court, the High Court Judge here, Justice Cotler, he threw it out. He said that it was hopeless. He appealed the matter, and today the ruling from the Court of Appeal, the victorious, and we must celebrate. It's the court said that no matter the Article 16 is not unconstitutional, and therefore it is not aspirational either. It is reality. So we've got to celebrate it.
Former leader of the Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, said he is happy with the outcome of the case and hoped that the government adheres to the court ruling.
All teachers here, we are celebrating, we are very happy because we know the suffering of our members, and in particular those 3 teachers who are directly affected. They have been out of a job for many, many years. It was a long, hard struggle, but we know for sure, we were confident that God was on our side. And he has spoken to through the courts. And we just hope that the government would adhere to the decision of the court and just do the honorable thing now.
Meanwhile, leader of the opposition New Democratic Party, Dr. Godwin Friday, said he received the news about the ruling while in Parliament and is very happy for the affected teachers. He said it was a just decision by the Court of Appeal.
Because, you know, this is a situation where you had a negotiation in good faith between the teachers union and the government. And then the government now, because these 3 teachers decided they would contest seats against the government, they decided that they were not going to honor the agreement. And citing constitutional provision to say that the collective bargaining agreement, section 16, was unconstitutional. You don't need a collective agreement to rehire the teachers in any event, because other teachers had been rehired in the past. So it shows that the government from the start was acting in bad faith. And so here the court has confirmed that in fact the provision of the Constitution, I'm sure this must be a great victory for the teachers, and they must feel good about their collective bargaining position that they adopted, that this was not unconstitutional, and moreover that the teachers had a legitimate expectation that they would be rehired because they had given a promise by the government. How could you sign a document and then when it comes to enforcing it, you basically are saying, oh, you know, I was wrong to have signed it. You can't use that in your own defense. And this is what the court has upheld, and I'm glad to see that the teachers have prevailed, that the teachers union had the courage and the confidence to proceed with the matter. And now it's a matter of providing justice to those 3 teachers who suffered a lot because of the bad faith decision that the government took against them.
Dr. Friday said he is anticipating the government's response to the ruling by the Court of Appeal.
Because you can't behave like a bandit, you know, in face of the court's decision. If the court say you're wrong, then accept the court's decision and move forward. You should be happy, in fact, because they negotiated the collective agreement. And they said the only reason we can't enforce Article 16 of the collective agreement is because it's unconstitutional. You know, by Section 26 of the Constitution. So now that the court has said it doesn't, everybody should be happy, including the government. No.
This country's Foreign Affairs Minister Sir Louis Straker today reaffirms SVG's position to stand with the elected Venezuela government led by Nicolas Maduro. Responding to a question in Parliament today on the ongoing battle for leadership in the Spanish-speaking country, Sir Louis said SVG voted an Organization of American States resolution not recognizing the legitimacy of Maduro's second term as president of Venezuela because it was the right thing to do. SVG, Suriname and Dominica were among the CARICOM countries which voted against the resolution, while the Bahamas, Jamaica, Guyana, Haiti and St. Lucia supported the resolution. St. Kitts Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados and Belize abstained during the vote, while Grenada was not present when the matter was put to the vote. Sir Louis told Parliament today that SVG is upholding international law and that given the fact that Maduro won the presidential elections in May 2018, which was deemed free and fair by international observers, SVG couldn't support a resolution which sought to undermine the legitimacy of Maduro.
There leaves no doubt that the position of St. Vincent the Grenadines is a principled one, firmly grounded in international law and rooted in the guiding principles of the United Nations Charter, as well as those of the very same charter of the OAS, which some now seek to selectively manipulate and openly violate for narrow, self-serving interests.
Sir Louis said SVG will continue to call for the no interference in the internal affairs of Venezuela, which is a sovereign, independent state. He said the resolution of the ongoing crisis and the future of Venezuela can only be decided by the people of Venezuela through dialogue, reconciliation, and compromise with the help of external actors agreed to by the contending sides and not through self-serving resolutions.
Delegitimize the government of Venezuela for a man who was just the president of the National Assembly, never ran for a national office, and made himself president just because of the machinations, just because of the manipulations of bigger states who feel that they must dictate to others. And I say they are to take the beam out of their own eyes before they can see clearly to remove the mote out of their brother eyes. Many of them have elections that are questionable. And nobody could say anything. And we have heard it, we have seen it. And we say that we would abide by an election that the world declared. Not even the candidates who lost have said that these elections were not fair. And we are going to stand on the basis of international law and support the legitimate government of Nicolas Maduro and do all we can to bring the opposing forces together, have dialogue so there will be peace and stability in Venezuela, which is a friendly country.
Also in Parliament today, new opposition Senator Israel Bruce was sworn in. Bruce took over the position from Marcia Zita Barnwell. Opposition leader Dr. Godwin Friday and opposition member of Parliament for Central Kingstown St. Clair Leacock both welcomed and congratulated Bruce on his appointment.
Very quickly, on my knowing of Israel Bruce going back near 20 years, when I met with him in Grenada on what became known later as the Grand Beach Accord, when St. Vincent the Grenadines had a certain level of upheaval and uprising, which resembles what is taking place today in a sense, the rift between the unions and the government of the day.
He is a person, Mr. Speaker, for whom excellence is a hallmark, but mediocrity is not in his vocabulary. Certainly not as it applies to him. He is someone, Mr. Speaker, who has the ambition to be the parliamentary representative for South Central Windward. And the primary motivation, Mr. Speaker, I know, is to be of service to the people of his community. So, Brother Bruce, welcome to this honorable house, and we look forward to your service and your contribution.
Government Ministers Luke Brown and Sir Louis Straker also congratulated and welcomed the new opposition senator to the House.
I think since I'm on my feet that I should also welcome the new member, so I have a more balanced approach to the congratulations. The Honorable Israel Bruce, I think that if he were to really believe he would become the elected representative of South Central Windward, that it would be a fool's errand. I think that the honorable leader of the opposition was generous in his remarks in relation to him. I wish him a great stint.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate him and welcome him to this house as the new senator. It's a great honor to serve in this House.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, in welcoming Bruce to the House, gave him some advice on what is expected.
I want to proffer the advice to him that the House, the Parliament is a very different place than the law courts. The Speaker will ensure that the rules are followed, but it can be a place where if you're not well prepared, it can be far worse than the law courts. At least you have the judge who provides some protection, and you can always ask for an adjournment if things are not quite in order. But this is a different forum entirely, and I urge serious preparation. I just want to advise that.
Bruce said he plans to work on behalf of the people of SVG and his constituency, and also responded to the Prime Minister's advice.
I want to say to all and sundry that for the time that the Almighty God has given me the strength and health to be here, my commitment is to give of my very best to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines by and large, and the people of the constituency of South Central Windward in specific. Mr. Speaker, I am taking the teaching that the complexities and the dynamics of this honorable House is going to be far different to the law court. And I am equally ensuring that I do all within my competencies to prepare myself for the new lessons to be learned in this honorable House, because Rome was not built in a day.
Minister of Finance Camila Gonzalez said it is important that projects undertaken by the government are completed in a timely manner to meet deadlines. The minister made this call at last Friday's signing of a 3-year project agreement with the Republic of China on Taiwan. Gonzalez said contractors and project managers must be held accountable for timely completion of projects. This, he said, is reflective on the government, who reports to Vincentians.
We have not been as effective as we would like to be in meeting project deadlines, targets, and I've been talking a lot about this in private, but I want to talk more and more about it in public, because I think that the populace has a right to know the timelines and to hold the government to account when we, or at least demand explanations, when we make pledges of particular timelines and don't meet them. So I think that those timelines that I outlined in rough will be further elaborated, but I want to urge everyone involved, the contractors, the telecommunication providers.
Several entities, including the Ministry of Transport, the SVG Police Force, and the telecommunications sector, are involved in the project agreement between Taiwan and SVG. Minister Gonzalez said these entities must deliver as is required in the agreement.
Our friends and collaborators in Taiwan to work towards these timelines, not thinking that they can slide and drift, but viewing them as hard timelines that we have to meet, and that we approach these targets with some urgency. It's one thing to miss a deadline for implementing a document records management service, and everyone can be disappointed and shrug their shoulders and move on. It's another thing to miss a deadline that has real implications for the safety and security of the Vincentian people. So I want to urge us all, and that includes me, of course, to work aggressively towards meeting these timelines and to predicting and troubleshooting potential roadblocks along the way. And I know that we have the capacity and the capability to meet the deadlines that have been outlined here.
Two Vincentian nationals are the latest to be charged for the recent seizure of more than $1 million worth of compressed cannabis in Antigua and Barbuda. Godfrey King and Sidney Norville appeared before Magistrate Nagio Emmanuel in Antigua yesterday to answer to the charges of possession of cannabis, possession with intent to transfer, being concerned in the supply of cannabis, and drug trafficking. The Antigua Observer said a statement from the Office of National Drug and Money Laundering Control Policy said both men were denied bail due to them being considered flight risk. They have been remanded to Her Majesty's Prison in Antigua until May 8, 2019 for committal proceedings. Investigations into the matter are ongoing.